Welcome to a guest expert edition of the Ask Stuart Hour, where we do group. We'll try that again. Where we do group business coaching. My guest today is Jeff Verlotta. My gosh, I can't speak. Say hello, Jeff.
Hi, how's everybody? Welcome from Florida.
Before we get going, I asked you in the studio here by popular request. I asked my boot campers, hey, who do you want to hear from? What expert guest should we have in the studio to really uncover some of the inside scoop about producing a more healthy, viable, sustainable, maintainable, thriving group business? And you're the man. So would you give us your elevator speech in case there's somebody out there who doesn't know who you are? Tell us who you are and what you do.
Absolutely, and that's always a great question. Jeff Verlotta, I am the Strategic Account Manager for Classic Vacations, and hopefully you guys know Classic Vacations. We've been around for almost 30 years as a company. We started as Custom Plastic Hawaii, of course, and people I think still know us for that, but we, 20 years ago, 21 years ago, we added Europe as a destination, and now it's Caribbean and Mexico, and we're all pretty much all around the world. How we are a little different is we position ourselves as a luxury wholesaler. That high touch, high feel, best hotels in the world. Our niche is best in class, what we say, and we really sell ourselves on that high touch, high feel experience. We're different. We're even, like I said, even on a group basis, we're not that kind of that churn and burn kind of company. We want to give you that more of a consultative experience than I think some of the other wholesalers out there. A lot of companies will still, they push everything to the website and, book it online, and yes, we have that, but I really think the strength of working with Classic is when you pick up the phone and you call us. We still want agents to call us, and I think that's a little unique and a little bit different than some of the other companies out there.
Yeah, and I was going to, my second question was going to be, when you say luxury, that word, I've been to airports where they have stores that are called luxury stores, and everything's $10. But you said a key word, consultative. So we'll come back over that before, and I like that because it doesn't have to be the most expensive thing. It could come in the what I call loyalty grade service. So full disclosure to our boot campers and our invited guests today, Jeff and I go way back, and I know we don't show it. I know we don't look it.
Funny, yeah.
But Jeff and I were DSMs. I'm not even sure they use that anymore. District sales managers with Costa Cruises a very long time ago.
That was before the Carnival days. People may not realize, but Costa was their own independent company back then. That was before they were even part of the Carnival umbrella. Yeah. So that shows how long back that was.
I know. And there we go. We're back together again. All right, so if you have, this is the way it works, everybody, especially if you're a guest. We're going to dig right in right now. The slide that you're looking at is the only slide you're ever going to see. If you want to see my gorgeous face and Jeff's gorgeous face bigger on your screen, you can toggle that because the slide is never going to change. This is a conversation. Our agenda is your agenda. This is your chance, your opportunity to ask Jeff stuff about Classic, to ask about groups. What's been on your mind? What's holding you back? What's working? What's not? Now I'm getting all psychological here. So the first question I want to ask you right now is, Classic and groups. So this is more just so we understand your product a little better, Jeff. Why Classic? Why groups? Is it something you guys love? Is there anything special you do about it? Just kind of give us that so we understand why you said, yeah, I want to come on the show with you.
Well, honestly, we really had a refocus on groups, I would say maybe 3-4 years ago. It was never really part of our product mix. I mean, again, we were, high-end, Four Seasons, Ritz-Carltons, Rosewoods. That was always our niche there. But we saw the need for a high-touch, high-feel company when it comes to groups. We saw that, so we kind of re-energized that. We moved some of our BDMs are actually now strictly working in the groups team. We really beefed up our groups team. We beefed up our technology when it comes to groups, and we think we're doing some things a little bit different than some of the other companies. I think we think a little better than some of the other companies. Our big business, in fact, our spike in business overall as a company has been because of groups. Really within the last 2 years, our group business is up almost 80%, which is in today's world is just unbelievable. And as part of that, the biggest part is destination weddings to all-inclusives. And again, for us, that is such a focus, such a big part of our business. And I mean, I make that plea to your agents out there. If they're not in the destination wedding business, jump on it really quickly, because it is huge business for us. It is a niche, and you sort of have to there might be a learning curve on it, but it can be very lucrative for groups.
Now, if there, and that's really big. Everybody, pay attention. If you're not already in that game, I wonder, Jeff, if an agent, and I know you have a particular territory you cover, but if an agent wants to learn more and get in the game, okay, they can call Classic Vacations if they don't already know who their strategic account manager is. And like, would you sit down by phone or whatever and say, okay, here are some great tips specifically about how to do destination weddings right and wrong? Will you help?
In fact, one of our groups managers, Marjorie Sherman, who actually she's up in the Pacific Northwest. She actually lives in Bainbridge Island. I don't know if you know where that is. It's up like almost up in Canada. She is our groups person. Every Friday, she does a specific groups training on how to work with us on groups. So again, I have a territory. Florida, Alabama, South Carolina. I might not necessarily be your specific strategic account manager, but contact me. I will make sure you will be put into the right person. That you have Marjorie's info, the info for our basically back to groups basic kind of training, and it's extremely helpful. It's really quick, but we specifically have people to help you training specifically with groups.
Okay, that's big. That's important. Would you, and we can repeat it again later, and if you miss it, send me an email, send me a Raven, go on my website, I'll put it there. Jeff, do you mind giving us your email address, because you just
I'm here for it. It's my first initial last name, so it's letter J, Verlotta, V as in Victor, ERLOTTA at classicvacations.com. If your agents want, again, I work with the host agencies, being here in Florida, so it's not necessarily where the agent is located geographically. We base it, and everybody does it differently. We base it on where your home office is, basically the IATA number of whatever booking agency you're with. That's how we determine your coverage.
Okay, that makes sense, and it's good you reminded everybody. So everybody, if you've just joined us, because I see everybody still flowing in, which is awesome. I see a lot of brand new names. So whenever we do a special guest expert edition like we have Jeff on right now, we have 2 more coming up. We have a Princess and Cunard line, and we have Celebrity Cruises. I open it up to the entire industry, so we normally have a really big crowd for this. But you should know that when we do one-on-one coaching, when it's just little old me, I do it for my boot campers, and we do that every other week. And it's close as you're going to get to getting one-on-one professional business coaching. And so if you're a guest here, welcome. And you are free to go ahead and type away. See that little question box? Type. Let your fingers do the typing. Let us know if you've got a comment, a suggestion, a question, so that you can participate, or you can just be a fly on the wall and listen, hear everyone else's questions, their problems, their opportunities. That's fine too. I've got a question here from Sam, Traveling Good Company. I understand, Jeff, that you guys offer some kind of a private label site. So her question is, can I just send a link to my clients for the private level site, or can that be accessed only through a quote or a shared page? So in other words, just give us a brief description of how a private label website works for an agent.
Thanks for asking about that, because we have some really great tools on our website, and that's one of them. What we're doing as a company, and we've kind of made, and excuse my train in the background here.
I hear it.
One of the things we've done is we let you, the agent, brand yourself. We want you to take advantage of your branding, your name, your contact information. At Classic, we do not work directly with clients. Our website is not available for consumers. It's locked out to consumers. You have to be a registered agent with a CLIA IATA number to work with us on it. If you guys are out there and you're not in our database, that would be step number one.
Okay.
Is contact your strategic account manager and get you set up so you're in our database. We can pay commission. You guys, I'm sure, want to get paid on this thing too. So there's a form you need to fill out. Once you get that, you can go to classicvacations.com. There's a link to its Classic Assist. And Classic Assist is basically the agent basically facing page on it. Once you go in there, there's a link on there. You'll see private label. And what this private label does is, first, it lets you download your logo. So you can put your logo in there. It lets you download, put your contact information, your email address. But one of the cool things that it does, and your agent may have alluded to this, is it lets you create a customizable URL that is unique to you. From there, you can send that to your clients, and there's some cool things that you can do from it. Your clients can actually, basically it's our white label page, so your clients can actually book online on our website with basically with your facing information on there. There's ways you can add or take away the buttons on it if you don't want. Again, totally upfront with everybody, to be completely honest. Being who we are, and we sell ourselves on that the consultative. We honestly, we don't get a whole lot of bookings direct like that with the
online.
Booking on. We don't really want that. We want, our job is to have the clients call the agents, and again, have the agents work with them. That tool is there. If somebody wants to do it and they want to have that link on there, it's perfectly available for them. And again, you can either add, you can remove the booking buttons if you want, and just have basically the information facing out there for them too. If they have any questions, there are, once you get onto the webpage, there are YouTube videos on there that walk you through it to give you an idea on how to set up your private label. There's a live chat on there. You can talk to someone. There's a FAQ on there, so it kind of helps you through anything. And then if all else fails, contact me or contact your strategic account manager.
No, this is good. So I have a whole bunch of really quick follow-up questions. If a client does book on Sam's or somebody else's private site, the private level site, does the agent get notified that a booking has been made?
Absolutely. Send an email, Mr. and Mrs. Smith booked sandals, Ocho Rios, whatever the case may be.
Good stuff. Hey, I just want to let Lillian know, because I see she's in the studio here with us, that you sent the question like 5 minutes before we started, and I got it, and we will address it. So I'm grateful. I try to get to all of them. Ann has a great question. Hi, Ann. What if your agency is not into destination weddings? So what other groups are you seeing more popular? What's going on out there?
Our group department, you're only limited by your own creativity on it. We will do everything. We do incentive groups. We do family reunions. We do, bridal groups. I mean, family groups. Huge part of our business. Now, I have to qualify that a little bit when we say groups, because everybody kind of has their own definition of a group. Generally, it's 10 rooms. Generally.
All right. All right.
Some hotels do things differently. Like, for example, Sandals. Sandals will put a kind of a group contract together, like it's a like kind of a smaller group program, starting at 6 rooms you can do. So, but what my point is that let us decide on it. If it's not a group, then we can basically book it as an FIT on it too. We have a new groups program too that we started about a year ago, where it sort of lets you, when it's a destination wedding, when it's a real a formed group, the hotels are, and we don't set the hotel deposit, or Classic doesn't. The hotels set the deposit policy. In many instances, ask for a deposit on it. It's going to depend on the size of the group and all. It could be $50 a room. It depends. We even work with you on that. But we also have a groups program where you may have people that, we don't really want to put a deposit down, and hey, we're not sure how many people that we have on it. You can actually book a group that way, and then if you can kind of build into it, and then if you earn whatever the amenities are, if you earn a fee, whatever the case, you're basically getting all the group benefits on it.
It sounds like it's more of, that would be a speculative or a promotional.
Exactly. It's kind of almost like, Stuart, you remember back in the cruise line days with the GG kind of groups, kind of the guaranteed rate, kind of like that. The negative with that is, though, and to keep in mind, is that the advantage of depositing is they're holding the space, they're holding the pricing. Whereas if you're not doing that, the price, unfortunately, the space might not be there when it's time to book. The price may have changed when it's time to book. So that's the trade-off when it comes to that.
Jeff, on quick question. We've been talking a bit online about the website, but now from an agent perspective with your groups, can an agent actually book and manage their groups online?
Absolutely. Yeah. And actually, again, we've got some really great tools. Let me maybe just kind of back up through the beginning process. And with us, again, I have to really emphasize, we are not that churn and burn group company. I have agents call me sometimes, I wanted to pick up the phone and get a group rate. We don't do that. We need to make sure everything is qualified. We need to make sure the space is there before we send, and all due respect to other companies, sometimes they're quoting group space and that space isn't there. We will not quote group space if we don't have that space available.
And speaking of that consultative, I think that was it. It's a lot of syllables, Jeff. I'm not good with a lot of syllables in the morning. In any case, Sam has a follow-up question, and I want to keep pursuing this, and then we're going to go back to the boards because I see a lot of people typing in stuff too. The itinerary planning, knowing more about the area, the destination, reserving ground transportation. How knowledgeable, because I know what we teach in boot camp, what I teach and I stress is not to ever sell the bare bones stripped down off the shelf product, because if you do, then you know better than any other .com or any other 50,000 travel agent in the world. So my question is, when one of our agents is engaged with one of your agents talking groups, do they have access to that information, and is it possible to package in a value add or book other amenities too, like transfers or restaurants?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And again, that's a great part of the process. And again, how we kind of talk ourselves. All groups start with an email, groups@classicvacations.com. Okay. And if I'm your strategic accounts manager, I always ask CC me on that, always CC whoever your salesperson is. And I think the great thing about us with the group is you really are only going to work with 2 people, really through the whole life of the group. You have your first contact, and if that person that's going to contact you after you send in a group request, it's basically your group sales coordinator. And what they do, they will help you set up the group. They'll give you the information on it. They'll make suggestions for you. They will basically get you through the contract stage. Once that group is deposited, you will be given a group's coordinator. You can, a lot of this payment and all that stuff is all online. You don't have to talk to anybody 24/7. You can go online. You can, the only thing you can't do online, you cannot book, right now, book outside of what your group block is. You can request additional space outside your group block, but basically everything else, whether it's request air for it to rooming lists, whatever, is pretty much all done online nowadays.
Okay.
It's a really, really great program.
I like that.
You will have your group coordinator. They're the ones that are going to help you with the day-to-day things.
Yeah. Right.
In the instance of a destination wedding, there will be a third person. Again, we don't do the actual wedding. We're not picking out the flowers and the color of the napkins and all that. What we do is we put you, the agent, in contact with the group. Most of the hotels that we work with, they have a specific wedding coordinator on the hotel, and they will sit with the agent, the bride, on it, and they put together part of the wedding portion of it.
Perfect, and that makes perfect sense, which means that a little bit of the burden comes off of the travel agent.
Sure.
Of course, the agent can be involved, but at least you're hooking up the bride with the hotel so they can work out the details. So I have a follow-up question to that. It's going to be a good one, a juicy one, but Lillian is asking this. She says, I know about Marjorie training. Is there somebody by the name of Marjorie in your training?
Yeah, actually she's the one. She's our group trainer, yeah.
There you go. Marjorie in training, and she's great. So Aunt Lillian is very kind to pass along an accolade. Is there any other destination wedding resource on the Classic Vacation site or YouTube by Classic Vacations that you recommend, Jeff?
There's a lot of training videos with us on YouTube, and we even have some destinations. We have some of last time I was on there, some of our Hawaii partners, some of our Europe partners, we basically have taken their YouTube training, YouTube sales videos, whether it's amazing hotels, and kind of branded it with us on there too. So there is a lot of information, but I think you kind of alluded to the kind of the value add and the things that you can do. Absolutely, we can pretty much do anything they want. Private dinners, if they want. Transfers, obviously, a big part, especially if it's an incentive group. You use the term shore excursions, we use the term tours and activities. There are so many things that we can do. A few years ago, we actually worked with an agent, and part of a group, we bought out an island in Tahiti. It was a complete island buyout on it.
Wow.
So, again, there's things they wanted their privacy on an island in Tahiti. We worked with them, private functions, private everything. They had their own island on it too. So, like I said, when it comes to groups, you're limited by your own creativity. We can pretty much work on just about anything.
As we used to say back in New York, not too shabby, man, not too shabby. You get your own private island for the wedding. That's pretty good.
That would be nice. That would be my wedding, a private island.
There you go. Now, the question is, I have for you, and pay attention, everybody, because this is among the most popular questions that have been asked in the past, not only for all groups, but specifically for destination weddings. So you have it booked, and then the bride and groom get a call from Uncle Stu, who says, we found it for less here. We're going to just book it. We'll meet you there. And just that general problem of people thinking they're going to outsmart the bride and groom and the whole deal, that they're going to get, taken advantage of or raked and they can find it for cheaper, or they want to stay at the Hilton Garden Inn next door to the Four Seasons. Basically, they book around or outside. Jeff, give us some wisdom here. We know this happens.
Absolutely.
Give us an anecdote or some tips how we can overcome, avoid, and make this a success story versus a problem.
And there is no question that's a challenge in any type of group. You have people nowadays, hey, they got the internet, and everybody's looking for something cheaper. But again, for us, and kind of the philosophy with us as a company is we don't position ourselves as the lowest price. We just don't. That's just not who we are. We position ourselves as a high touch, high feel, high service company. As everyone knows, if somebody is going to look for it cheaper, they can generally find it cheaper. Right. We don't see as much, again, all due respect to our friends in the cruise line, we don't see the discounting in the resorts as much as, it's not as rampant as it is in the cruise business. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but it's not as widespread as it is. I would say for the most part, and there are exceptions to this, our good partners are going to be, they have price parity on it. So if they've got something listed somewhere, for the most part, they give us access to it. And if not, talk to our group coordinator. We're going to try and be as competitive as we can on it. The thing that they have to realize and bring out to the people is, they have to kind of keep the bride and groom's thoughts in this too, where, if they're not booking it through the group, they're not giving the benefits to the bride and groom. If there's an amenity there, maybe they're going for, they're earning a free dinner or something. Sure. They're taking that away from the bride and groom when they're doing that. So
I know.
They sort of have to think they're sort of penalizing the bride and groom or whoever the group leader is as well. We're going to book it outside somewhere. So
and I agree.
It could be something they think about too.
Unfortunately, there are those who do that kind of thing, and what I suggest, and agents who are on right now, share. You guys are shy today. I have a few comments coming through, but what do you do? What have you done? Share it here, and I'll read it if you don't mind. And by the way, if there's anyone who wants to be bold enough and courageous enough to request that your microphone be turned on, so you can ask me or Jeff a question directly, please do so, and I will let you know when I'm going to turn it on. Ask your question. We'll turn it back off. What I recommend, real quick, just take this on, is that the bride, we can't hide from this. We can't run from this. It happens. So perhaps the bride and groom come right out and say, with a big smile in a loving way, hey, I know that, and I encourage you, research online, take a look, because the resort we picked is amazing. The whole program we put together is going to be phenomenal. So get to see the area you're going to. So, that's okay. You can't tell people, don't go online to look. And say, and we realize you might be tempted if you think you see a lower price. And if you do, it's probably not. And what's important to know is that only people who are booked in our group, through classifications, through our travel professional here who is designated to make sure that everything goes right and nothing goes wrong, then you won't be on the list for the dinner. There won't be a seat for you in the rehearsal dinner or in the celebration or in the cocktail party. So you won't get the little surprises we have in store, and say it with a big smile, basically saying, if you think you're going to outsmart us, you're not, because there won't be a seat for you. Now, that may or may not be true. I hope the hotel will say, don't worry, if we don't have them on your official agenda or your roster, then they can't come into the room. There won't be a seat. But that's what I suggest.
Yeah. And one of the things too, and to kind of expound on that a little bit, sometimes hotels, they put out something on the internet that there may be one room available at that price, and that's the difference when you're holding group space, you're holding an allotment, you're holding that price. They may see something, and then all of a sudden everybody's, oh my God, I saw it $100 cheaper. Well, there may be, you need to first off make sure it's the exact same thing. It might not be the same category, it might not be the same date on it too, and there may be one room available at that price. Also look at what the deposit schedule is on it. Usually for groups it's a little bit different on it. Is there insurance? And so that's probably one of the big things too, is make sure anytime you're doing a competitive that you're comparing apples to apples and not apples to oranges, because
exactly.
All that is going to change with the pricing structure.
Right. And especially that you allow value add in packaging, which again is among the many things that I teach in group boot camp, how agents can be not only become more competitive, but think of it this way. You know, when a consumer says, whether they're booking a destination wedding or any other group, because I know we've been focusing on weddings, everyone says, well, you know, I give out prices and I never hear back from them again. Well, again, that's the bare bones stripped down off the shelf product, and you could buy that a million places, and there's going to be somebody out there who will beat the price for $1. But when you come up with a higher price point, you say, look, I'm going to charge you more. The customer says, what? Why? Well, because when you get there, you're going to want the transfer, you're going to want the dinner, you're going to want this, that, and the other thing. And by the time you get there, it may be sold out, it's going to be higher priced, you're going to be stressed standing in line to do it and book it. I'm going to book all of that in advance because my partner, Classic Vacations, for instance, can take care of this. So I'm going to bubble this up to the top, and then I'm going to go to Belvin, made a nice comment here. Jeff, this is what we talk about too, and I talk about whether I'm doing a keynote or I'm in boot camp. The role of the travel agent, whether they're doing a group or an individual, the only purpose of a travel agent, there's three. Number one, to reduce stress and risk. Number two, and my boot campers know this. You could say this, right? Number two, to add value and convenience. And number three, to transform the entire experience from good to great, the entire experience. And if you don't do that as a travel agent, you ain't worth your salt. Because then you're just another .com just booking something that a million other people can book. And that's when you tell the consumer, look, I'm going to take care of it all in advance. At the end of the day, I'm going to save you money. I'm going to save you time. I'm going to reduce your stress, reduce your risk of you missing out on things. And that's also why destination wedding is more inclusive. I love the word more inclusive. Let's go to Belvin's comment. I like to have a conference call with the group prior to making deposits to book through the agency because it will hurt the group leader if you book. So Belvin's addressing this situation where somebody may want to go outside the group. Because it will hurt the group leader if you book outside the group. I also ask that the group leader document a statement as well. So I think that's a great idea, Belvin, which is whether it's the bride and groom, right, Jeff, or whether it's just a group leader, and that's going to lead to my next question to you. Make sure the group leader knows that this could be possible, and let's nip it in the bud now. Let's lay it out there. Let's just, full disclosure, full exposure. Let's tell the people what they will not get if they book outside the group. They think they're beating it, but they won't be. So my question to you is, aside from destination weddings, and it's a two-part question, what do you see are the most popular groups? Do you see, I don't know if it's changed over the years, or do you see there's new trends in just groups in general? And part two to that, I love asking this question. What are agents doing wrong when it comes to selling groups? And now is your chance to tell them, stop doing it this way, do it this way. Two-part question. Right. Go.
That one's an easy one. So as far as groups, again, family groups is huge for us. Just kind of family reunions, big part of our business. Also, we're seeing a lot of that. In fact, I'm sure a lot of your people work with, AM Resorts. They have now almost segregated their brands based on group components, such as, the Dreams, Amber now. So much of their business is family reunion groups. And AM Resorts for us is our top group partner. We do more groups at AM Resorts than any other hotel chain because of that. The other thing, too, is they pretty much developed this Breathless brand. And I don't know if anybody's familiar with that, but there's the new one, there's the Cancun, there's the Riviera Maya, there's a new Breathless in Cabo, there's a new one in Jamaica, I believe either opened or just is about to open, and it is kind of geared more to the younger couples, singles. We see so many of these girls' getaways, bachelor parties, bachelorette parties, divorce parties, things like that, because it's really high energy, music, high food, it's almost South Beachy sort of look on it too. We're seeing a lot of these, that type of group out there too. But again, anything can be really turned into a group. When you ask about what agents are doing wrong, one of the things that I see, and probably number one for me is, and I'm sure, Stuart, you will probably even agree with this, is I think agents really have to do a better job qualifying the group. Sit down, and it sounds like somebody's doing that, sit down with the group leader. Make sure you know exactly what it is that they want, what it is that they're looking for, and gearing that experience. Because as we know, the resorts are different. There's adults only, there's the high energy ones, there's the laid back ones. You have to make sure that it's the right group to the right resort. One of the things sometimes I get agents, and again, they start with this group quoting, this groups at classicvacations.com, and we want you to get as much, in fact, we even have a form, kind of a qualifying form on it, like get an idea of the budget, do they need air, what are the gateways, obviously the dates on it, how many people, what kind of group it is. I sometimes have agents, they'll send us a request for 10 different resorts. I want this one, I want this one, I want this one, I want this. Right. Honestly, it kind of slows down the process.
Yeah.
As a public service for our groups people, and a lot of the groups will be kind of in the same comp set a little bit. So, asking about 5 different hotels in the same comp set, to me, it kind of shows, well, they're not really qualifying their people enough on it. I would say for a group request for us, 2, maybe 3 at the most, work with our groups team on it. It really does streamline the process. And you're also just confusing your clients too when you hand them, a proposal and it's got 10 different resorts on it too, because they're confused too. Yeah. So a really better job qualifying the groups.
And to your point, Jeff, and thank you for answering both questions, which is the consumer is relying, because this was my keynote that I just did. I just did the keynote at the Palace Resorts Global Conference, and I talked about influence. The consumer is coming to the travel agent for influence. If they didn't want influence, they would have booked it on their own themselves and said, I know what I'm doing, blah, 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 and they end up making mistakes, usually. But they're coming to a travel agent specifically because they want to hear that agent say, okay, no, that resort, not going to work. That resort, that's going to work. Let's talk about it. I'm not going to put your place, I'm going to take your money and put you someplace you're not going to love. I'm going to put you here. And the influence then goes further, which is, now's the time to buy. Mr. and Mrs. Jones, you're getting everything you wanted. You're not getting all the things you don't want too, because that's just as important. We're done. There's no more thinking, no more decisions. Let's just focus on you getting packed, telling your friends and family they get all envious that you're going away to a resort, as they say, I think down here in the Mid-South. So like they say, umbrella. And the consumer wants that influence, or else, again, the consumer would have done it themselves. I got a couple of questions. Lillian has asked me to repeat what I said before. Absolutely, the 3 reasons people can use a travel agent. And Lillian, you can use this. You don't have to quote me. All I want is 2% of all the business you pull in, because I'm giving you the gift of these 3 phrases that paid. The phrase that pays. Number 1, here's what you're good for. Number 1, you reduce stress and risk. Number 2, you increase value and convenience. And number 3, you transform the entire experience from good to great. Now I'm going to make you all an offer, Lillian, to everybody. If you want me to write that out, send me an email. And also, there's a document in boot camp. My boot campers know it. Hi, boot campers. Thanks for being here. It's called my Group Viability Test. It's a big word. Look it up. Group Viability Test. It's a 10-step test. To Jeff's point, you got to know before you go. because sometimes, we see squirrel, and if it's shiny, and everyone says, we're going to go, and you do the group, wah, wah, wah. A lot of sound effects here, Jeff.
I like that.
Thank you so much. It's taken me years to perfect. It doesn't work. We lose money. We lose time. We lose resources. We lose all the other clients who can't get us on the phone or get a return email because they're so busy doing a failure. So if you want a copy of this PDF, it's a PDF special report called My Group Viability Test, send me an email. And it's not even on the screen. Stuart@stuartloydcohen.com. Stuart@stuartloydcohen.com. Send me a raven. Get in touch with me. You want my cell phone number? Here you go. And usually 1 or 2 people text me. Here we go. Area code 631-877-9080. 631-877-9080. Let's see who's first. No, I'm kidding. All right. Let's see. Tina says, many resorts will allow folks to join the group even if they book outside the group. The wedding coordinator will just ask for names to allow them, which takes away from the couple. So to Tina's point, there are still plenty of resorts that will still say, hey, it's not.
They want to make everybody happy, so they don't want an argument on it. So it's the path of least resistance sometimes, I think, when that happens.
Right. Yeah. It's tough. It's definitely tough. We could spend a whole hour talking about strategies around that. Parker says on the event page or invitation, our wedding event is by RSVP only. Entrance to event parties and dinners are reserved for our friends and family who are booked with our bridal party at Four Seasons, etc.
There you go.
Please speak to our travel specialist, name and contact. So I'm going to read that again. And Parker, way to go. Thanks for sharing this. That's why I love these business coaching sessions, because we have a sort of a best practices thing going on here. So on the event page or the invitation, I'm going to read it again. Our wedding event is by RSVP only. Entrance to the event, parties, dinners are reserved for friends and family who are booked with our bridal party at the hotel name. Please speak to our travel specialist, name and contact. So, every step of the way, set the expectation, set the tone, set the direction, so they realize, all right, I'm going to save $10, but what if I can't get into the dinner to get the free hors d'oeuvres and happy hour? Because if it was me, Jeff, I don't know if you remember me and food or me at happy hour, but
Me too.
I've never met a happy hour or a cocktail reception.
Language. I hear you.
You know what I'm saying? So now we're going to get to Lillian's question. So this is pulling on our expertise, Jeff, and if it's probably fair for me to say that you and we've both dedicated our careers to helping travel professionals be more successful. True or false?
Yeah, I've been doing this almost 30 years, believe it or not, and I was looking at a calendar. So yeah, I would say that's fair. Yeah.
And we've seen the good, we've seen the bad, we've seen the ugly, and over the process of time, we've worked with some great travel agents, and we're called upon not only to, especially in your position, working for a brand, classifications, not only sell your brand, but to give counsel, to give guidance. You've got wisdom. I mean, you work with hundreds, if not thousands of agents over time. So here's Lillian's question. I want to pose it to you first, and then I want to take a stab at it too. Lillian wants to know, if you have an unresponsive client, how many times do you call? How many times do you email? How do you deal with an unresponsive client? Jeff, what would your strategy be?
That's a good question and a tough question. I think it might have to do with the actual client and the circumstance. Is it a past client? Is it somebody that you've worked with before? If that's the case, maybe it's just the timing is off on it, and maybe they're going to come around anyway, so I would probably still stay on it. If it's somebody that's brand new and, you're out there and, they kind of, there's kind of the number, 20 sometimes before they hear people. I think that's tough. Where do you draw the line on what's annoying on it too? But You know, I think, and my philosophy, doing this for as long as I have, is fish where the fish are. And if you're working with somebody and you're not getting the appropriate response, my thought is move on. I mean, there's a lot of business out there from people. There really is. Again, it depends on, you know, where this lead came from. Is it friend of a friend of a friend, and it was kind of a you can sort of get an idea on how serious people are on it. You know, especially when, you know, if people sometimes are really enthusiastic until you start talking about money, and then you start talking about deposits, and if that's the kind of the cutoff point. But again, do everything you can, research why you think that was. Is it a money issue? Is it a timing issue? There's instances in destination weddings where the bride and groom broke up and the wedding isn't even going on anymore. So, you know, I guess it really depends on the circumstances. It's hard to you know, paint everything with a broad brush, but you know, be consistent, follow up on it, but also know when to cut your losses and to move on too.
That's right. No, very well said. I appreciate that, Jeff. I hope, Lillian, was that good? Did that help? And I just want to layer a couple of my thoughts on, if that's all right, which is that I think what not to do, okay, is to just fire away with phone calls and emails and give any sense of guilt. Because if you give any sense of guilt, you're not calling me back, blah, 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 then my guess is there's a very, very, very small chance that they're going to get back and say, I'm sorry, I've been busy or whatever. Because at the end of the day, friends, we need to realize that nobody owns their clients. You don't own your client. Even if you've gotten them to sign a one-year contract where they have to book with you, you still don't owe them unless it's, you know, one of these giant legal documents where you can sue them. And I mean, but we don't do that. They're giving you the gift of their business, but they can make 50,000 other choices. So number one, let's be clear. You don't own your clients. Number two, I believe there's really two things you can do if there's no response back, because they don't owe you a response. Even if you put in a week's worth of research and work, they don't owe you anything. I'm sorry to say it. I'm telling you stuff, right? I'm telling you stuff that you don't want to hear, but you need to hear. So in my opinion, there's one of two things that have happened. Number one, they don't like you anymore. They don't need you anymore. They don't love you anymore. For whatever reason, get over it. As my great friend and mentor, Mike Marshev, always says, and I just saw him down in Cancun at the conference, he said there's two kinds of people in the world. Those you can help and those you can't. So maybe you can't help this person. So number one. Number two, life got in the way. Can I ask you all a question, and I know you're going to all shake your head yes? You got other stuff going on in your life, in your world, than just book and travel? You do. You got a million things. Whether you have kids, no kids, you got to take care of parents, you got this, you got a broken toilet bowl, whatever it is.
Hurricanes.
Hurricanes. Yeah. Yes. Life got in the way. So if you start firing away and giving a sense of guilt, man, you're just going to turn them off. So here's what I suggest you do, which is you can send a little handwritten note or something so there's a little more of a personal touch than an email, or even a voicemail with no expectation they're going to pick up the phone, because most people don't talk anymore. Talking these days is texting. And just say, because this is what I do. I'm telling you what I do. Hey, left you a couple of messages. I want you to know that I'm thinking of you, and I am here, always on standby. I'm in your pocket. When you're ready, call me. Here's my address, here's my cell phone, or whatever. Now, you can, if you want, say, please tell me if I have missed something. Did I deliver everything you had asked me to? you can ask a specific question where it's an easy answer of a yes or a no, because you don't want to ask a question that's going to require them to type a whole novel, right? Just a yes or no, or just say, hey, and goes back to Jeff's final point, which is move on, but let them know you still love them. Let them know you understand, because more than likely life get in the way. Friends, how many times, we'll end it here, this question, how many times have you heard from a client and it's 6 months, a year later, and you're like, who is it? Well, look. That's a telephone, by the way. You know, you haven't heard from them in a year and a half, and they call you, and you find out there was a death in the family. You find out that one of their kids got married and it was great joy. You know, you just don't know. Lillian, talk to us. Did that help? Did it not? Anybody else have any other ideas? Go ahead and type away and type in. Jeff?
Yep. And if I can add, you know, we're in that position too, because, you know, the agent goes to the client and sometimes they don't hear back. You know, we have an outstanding quote for you too when it comes down to a group basis. So, you know, if you don't hear from the client, we don't hear from you. So, you know, we kind of have a process too. Our people will follow up with groups that are showing inactive on it, that, you know, for whatever reason. And it's finding out why, if that would be the most important thing. And that's the magic pill right there, is finding out why, so we can adjust. Unfortunately, we don't always get a why groups fall apart. There could be a million different reasons why they do. But if you can get that information and adjust accordingly, that's the perfect situation.
Yeah. Yep, I agree. All right, I have a question for you, Jeff. Put you on the spot now, which is, give us an anecdote. Tell us a story of a group that was just wonderfully successful, that was creative, the agent did all the things right, because before, unfairly, I said, what are agents doing wrong? And your key thing was not qualifying well enough and wasting time on groups that are destined to fail. So now I'm going to ask you to please share with us, teach us, inspire us with a group that you were so excited to see work well, and tell us some of the details of what it was about and why it was successful.
And I would say, and it's really funny when you kind of talk about what some of those triggers are on it. And still to this day, it's been a couple of years ago, but it's the biggest group I've ever done. It's I think our second or third biggest group ever with Classic, and it was one group was almost $600,000 on it. It was Moon Palace, and it was an incentive group. They were kind of a high-tech video producing company. It was kind of like their corporate Moon Palace. They all wanted single rooms, and we were lucky enough that Moon Palace had enough of single rooms. But the trigger and what made this, and everybody loves the term right now that I'm going to use, and everybody's going to smile, but the term that closed that group was free Wi-Fi. That was it. They loved the fact that they could have free Wi-Fi around the resort. So, you know, they're high-tech guys. They could be in their rooms playing on their laptops and all, and that was the closing trigger on that group. Was we were basically able to get them free Wi-Fi on the resort. And it's not always included. Sometimes it's part of a resort fee and all, but we got them free Wi-Fi on it, and we got a $600,000 plus group out of it too. So it's things like that, and again, it's just, you know, following up, what's it going to take, and sometimes just those little things make all the difference in the world.
And to tie it all together, the qualifying process. When you're sitting down with a client, don't assume to know what's most important to them. What if they're not foodies and they'll just eat tacos, hamburgers, and hot dogs all day? What if they are? But when they say, oh, all our people, we're computer geeks or whatever, I'm just saying, and we need the Wi-Fi. And I know, having just been at Moon Palace, Jamaica, Wi-Fi is everywhere. You can be on the beach, you could be floating on a raft in the pool, and people love it. And you know why it's great? A, you're giving the people what they need, because you can tell them, put it away and be on vacation. That's not our job. That's not
No.
our job. But you know what? It works to I believe, the resource advantage, because you say, hey, look where I am. Look where I am. I'm having fun. You're back home, and I'm here and you're not. So, people post stuff, obviously, and that's why social marketing is so effective. Belvin, it was so awesome seeing you in Jamaica. I can't believe we only spent like 15 seconds together, but it was really cool. I'm so glad you come up to say hi. He said, it's great seeing you at Moon Palace Jamaica. Enjoyed your Moon Palace Jamaica promo movie. Yeah, so, yeah, I'm a big shot TV star. I'm on all the TVs now at Palace TV, just so you know, Jeff. So, this is...
I'll be there in a couple of weeks. I'll look for you.
Look for me. Oh, you're not going to the Next Gen Group Travel Summit, are you?
Cruise planners.
Okay, you're going to that one. All right, because I'm going back down to Moon Palace Cancun. You like that? Cancun. All right. All right, friends, oh my goodness, we've got 3 minutes left. Final questions. Nobody leave. Everybody stay. I just want to remind you, if you want to get the Group Viability Test PDF, send me an email. Jeff, would you give out your email address just one more time so everybody gets it?
And you can sort of look at the screen. It's first initial, last name, J. Verlotta, VERLOTTA, at classicvacationswithin.s.com.
Within.s.com. All right. Last question I have for you is, then we're going to wrap up in 2 minutes. What destinations are hot right now? What are people asking for? Where are people going?
For us, this year, we had an amazing year in Europe. Europe was, in fact, for me, Europe was my #2 product. And I think that because airfare was so good to Europe, the dollar was so strong, it's going to kind of come back a little bit. For us, we're very Italy-centric as a company. Italy, for us, probably Italy, Greece, London and Paris is probably the biggest part of our Europe business, but we're really expanded. We added like over 40 different hotels throughout Europe this year, so we really had a great year. Hawaii's back too on us. I mean, we're really, Caribbean, it's going to be interesting to see the rest of the year in the Caribbean. I think the thing that we really have to focus on is the Caribbean is over 1 million square miles. There were some areas affected, but there was a lot of it that was not affected too. So don't shy away from selling the Caribbean, because there's still Western Caribbean and islands that are either going to bounce back or were very minimally affected and are open or already open and ready for your business too. So please keep that in mind.
Okay. That was great. That was a good recap. I appreciate it. All right. We are at time, but before you go, everybody, I'm going to give you one last chance. You got any questions for Jeff? Classifications, anything about groups, individuals? If you've got some kind of a rash on your elbow, this is not the place to ask that question. I'm so sorry. You can ask my wife if you want. She's not here at the moment. She's a nurse practitioner. But all right, Jeff, I'm going to give you 30 seconds to leave us with some love. What do you got to tell us before we go?
We want to thank everybody. We're having a great year as a company. I'm personally having a fantastic year. It's because of the great agents that we have. We're here to help you out. That's my job, is to help out. Strategic account manager. We're here to help grow your business. I can't give you a quote. I can't tell you this is open, this is the price on it. But anything, we want you to call our resident team for that. But anything else, if you need help closing a sale or you have a marketing idea, if I'm not your person, I'll put you in charge. I'll let you know who that is. But we're here to help you guys out.
Cool.
That's what we love to do.
Outstanding. Hey, Jeff, thank you so very much
This is wonderful. I hope it's valuable for your people.
I do believe so. I think it was a great session, and the hour flew by.
It really did. Almost lunch.
It's lunchtime. Hey, Jeff, thank you very much. Wishing you continued success. I hope to bump into you somewhere, see you sometime in the near future around
Sure,
town.
absolutely.
And Lillian says, thank you, Jeff and Stuart. You are most welcome, Lillian. Glad you're here. And everybody, happy sales. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.